Welcome back to Joe's Stunner Boxing. Yeah, I know I need a shave. I'll do it tomorrow. Turki Alalshikh. Does he need a shave? Has he got a beard? He hasn't. No, he hasn't, has he? A lot of these Arab guys, they have beards, but I don't think he's got one. But anyway, stereotypes aside, there's been a sort of mixed reaction to him in America. I've been reading all sorts of things about how what is perceived to be an air of arrogance didn't go down well in America. Now, plus the fact, of course, that being called His Excellency all the time I think that sort of sticks in the throat of a lot of Americans, because in Britain we're slightly more used to that type of reverence because we have a royal family. And I and many others are not royalists. I mean, I don't have anything against them as people, but the idea of, a royal family, it sort of goes really against what I personally believe in, the idea of inherited wealth and power and privilege and so on. But the attitude is somewhat different because we have a royal family, and a lot of people really like them. A lot of people really like the royal family, and they are royalists. So if someone comes along and says, I am an Arab prince, a bit like Peter O'Toole in Lawrence of Arabia, he wasn't an Arab prince, and they say, okay, yeah, His Excellency, no problem. In America, which is obviously a republic, it's a little bit less tolerant or tolerated. They don't like this. They don't like His Majesty. They don't like His Excellency. After all, they did, kick our lot out of their territory in the late 18th century, and Boston Tea Party and all that jazz. Well, I can sort of understand their attitude, but I think Turki Alalshikh may not be first of all, I don't think he necessarily deserves all the criticism that he's getting. You've got to bear in mind that he grew up being revered. He's almost like the royal family over there are almost propelled to the point of being like a deity. It's kind of like if you go to North Korea, which I never have been to, I never will go to. The leaders are regarded as literally as gods. And there are huge, enormous statues of various of the ruling family, completely the polar opposite of everything that communism is supposed to be. But anyway, that's a video for another time and on another channel. But it's pretty much the same in Saudi Arabia. The royal family are very, very highly thought of. Now you go to another country and you start throwing lots of money around and putting on these great events, and suddenly you've got the WBC giving you a belt and putting you. Is he in the Hall of Fame, WBC's Hall of Fame, or something like this? The excellent Turkey, and you start to think, well, yeah, okay, this is going to come across as arrogant. People don't like this, and yes, you're putting a lot of money into boxing, and yes, we should be saying, oh, thank you very much. We really appreciate that, but don't ask us to sort of get on our knees and grovel. And I think that was the impression that with the Madrimov Crawford card that a lot of the American audience got. They didn't like that vibe. America has a very different sensibility to things like that, to the whole subject of reverence and who should receive it. And, you have to earn it. And, sometimes people have it who don't necessarily deserve it. I'm thinking, of course, of certain politicians. But let's be honest, Turki Alalshikh would not be the first person to go to America and with a certain attitude and kind of fall on his face, because when Eddie Hearn went over there, it was the same kind of thing. He had a lot of banter and he just came across as being like an arrogant prick. And the Americans didn't like that. They don't like that. If you're going to their country, at least, and I understand, I kind of agree with them on this. If you're going to someone else's country, be a little bit respectful. Don't say, swan in regally and pretend that you're the big I am. You're in someone else's country, mate. Calm yourself down a bit, So I do kind of get where they're coming from, where this accusation of arrogance comes from. I don't know whether I don't think it is necessarily arrogance. I don't think the excellent Turkey is necessarily a bad guy. Obviously, I've never met him. I'm not going to meet him ever, but I think he's just been brought up used to that kind of treatment, being thought of as this, magnificent individual, everybody bowing wherever he goes and all this. And that's just so that's kind of the way it is for him throughout his whole life and his family. So I guess he kind of thought, well, he probably didn't think anything of it at all. He probably thought, I go over there and people are going to treat me like they are. They've always treated me because that's how you treat people in my position. It's kind of like if a politician goes to another country. I mean, you might think he or she is an absolute prick or, see you next Tuesday. But you won't tell them that to their face, will you? You know what I mean? You'll be a little bit respectful, and after all, they're representing something else. But at the same time, if they waltzed in and, again, were, demanded to be treated with absolute, complete and utter, uncritical reverence, you'd say, well, piss off. But I just thought I'd raise this issue because the few articles I read, and a couple of people have mentioned it in videos as well, about this reaction to Turki Alalshikh did make me think. What are your opinions on this guy? I think he's quite a sweet little fella. I think he genuinely really loves boxing. I mean, yes, there is an element of sports washing here, where he's sort of trying to rebrand Saudi Arabia, and sport is one way of doing it. They're doing it in all sorts of different ways. But I think this guy genuinely loves boxing. He genuinely is a massive boxing fan. And some of his ideas are pretty silly. Like I'm thinking of Crawford versus Canelo, which I think he's thrown into touch, quite rightly so. But I think he means well. And I think I know it's a given that because of his efforts, matches that would never ever have been previously made are suddenly being made. And it's very interesting that some big names are being knocked off as we go along here with these big matches. Like, obviously, we had Jared Anderson, who was done by Martin Bakole. Bad defeat for Jared Anderson. But look, we've had Dubois stopping Hrgovic. Hrgovic was the IBF's mandatory for God knows how long. He lost that position by taking the big bag and fighting Dubois and losing. He thought he'd beat him easily. He didn't. He got stopped. Who else have we had? I mean, Wilder getting splattered. And, yeah, I mean, there are others as well who are getting sort of done away with. But it will be interesting to see if Turki Alalshikh brings them back, as he might do. He might do that. I don't see why he shouldn't. Who was the other one who got beat, the heavyweight? There was another heavyweight got beaten. I can't remember the name. Who was it? Cuban fella. Why can't I remember his name? See, this is what age does to you. You know what I mean, don't you? Frank Sanchez. He got done as well. So these things happen, but they wouldn't be happening if Turki Alalshikh wasn't throwing his money around. So maybe an adjustment of the attitude from the excellent Turki is what's needed. A little bit of humility, a little bit of humbleness, a little bit of, you can think you're great, but you go there and you're like, thank you very much. And he's trying to endear himself, like when they gave away the car. You remember, did you see that bit? He gave away a car to a random member of the audience. The bloke just sauntered up there. Oh, thank you very much for the car. He just looked completely just indifferent to it. But, he gave a car to a fan, and he got brought Eminem in, and lots of people like Eminem. So, maybe a little bit of a gig before the main event. And he's trying, but whenever he's interviewed, he comes across as being fine. Seems like a decent fella. But maybe a little bit more humility will endear you more to the Americans. I lived in America. I went over there. I lived there for 4 years and 3 months. And I lived in the South as well. I lived in the North. But, you go to somewhere like where I was in Alabama, if you act like a twat, they'll tell you. And they're nice people as well. They're really nice people. But, yeah. Attitudes are different in different cultures, aren't they? So anyway, give me your opinions. Tell me what you think. And, of course, comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button and spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. It's always appreciated. Your time, literally, I mean this hand on heart. It really is, because you could be doing 1,000 things instead of watching this video, but you're not. Cheers. I'll get you later. Looking forward to reading your comments. Bye for now.